Hello and welcome to another comedian's interview for my blog and podcast, A Rich Comic Life. My name is Richard Gill and my blog describes my experiences of watching over 1,500 comedians and counting for the last 50 years. I'm delighted to welcome my guest today. It's Mr. Jack Mclean. Yay! Hello, mate.
Hey up, Rich. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. And thanks for having me on because, as you well know, I'm a big fan of the pod, so it's lovely to be on.
Well, I'm so delighted that you're a big fan of the pod, and I'm so delighted that you're my guest because every time I see you on stage, you never fail to make me laugh. And it's just wonderful to see. So welcome and thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thanks. Yeah, thank you for the confidence because you've seen me in three times in three very different settings.
Yeah, very much so. We're going to talk about them. So the interview is going to last about 45 minutes to an hour. It's all about your comedy career. And I'd like to go right back to the start, please, and ask you, how did you become a comedian in the first place?
Well, you're based in London, aren't you, Rich?
Yeah, my home city's Carlisle, but I've lived in London for 30 years.
Yeah, so I don't know if it was the same in London. I imagine it was. I think of myself as being part of a group. There seemed to be a massive swelling of new comedians that came through straight after the pandemic. And I don't know whether it was just everyone sat at home reevaluating the jobs and having time to think, what do I want to do with my life? Or if this was always going to happen, these people were going to come through. But it just happened there was a bottleneck because no one could gig for 2 years and they all came at once, maybe. But I started after, like loads of my peers, all started after a big burst of us after the pandemic. I don't know if that, as I say, if that was the same on the London scene, if you just had a big burst of new comedians out of nowhere.
It was a terrible, terrible time, obviously, and all the comedy clubs were shut. And I used to think to myself, well, how am I going to entertain myself? And there was like, within my week, there'd be 3 really good comedy clubs that would do them online. So 3 or 4. And so there was Always Be Comedy in Kennington, which is my local one. There was Happy Mondays with Sean James. That was on a Monday night. There was the Irish one, Jarlath Regan, An Irishman Abroad. And there was another one that doesn't come to mind at the moment. But they were all really good. And what happened was they had a gamut of comedians. So you had your popular ones as well as your up-and-coming ones. And that gave me the idea for the blog. It wasn't just for the big hitters. I support everybody. And in a way, for me, this has been going for about 4 or 5 years. And the idea for that came unfortunately through the pandemic.
Yeah, well, good things can come out of bad situations, can't they?
Yeah.
One of the big reasons why I convinced myself that I've always wanted to be a stand-up. And I never really, because comedians are my heroes, or always have been. I'm a comedy geek, as we'll find out. But I never thought I could do it because I put them on such a pedestal. I thought, well, I can't be Bob Monkhouse.
I don't know.
and then, I mean, I still can't be. But, and then I remember joining Mark Bittlestone, the comedian. I'm guessing you'll know Mark. He used to do a online gig. Every week during the lockdown, and I joined it. I saw him advertise it. I thought, I'm locked. I was living on my own. I thought, I'll have a few beers and watch it. And it was the first time I saw comedians who I hadn't heard of, but were fantastic. Now, there were big comedians. Now I'm in the world. I think it was people like Laura Smith, and it was, amazing. Michael May was on there. I remember. But to me, I always thought of comedians as being the people on the telly. So when I discovered that there was all these amazing people who I hadn't heard of, it made me realise how much more accessible it could be. And then it gave me the confidence, right, when this is over, I'm going to give it a go. And then when I joined comedy, and you realise how amazing and big Laura Smith and these people are.
They've done so well, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. But I guess because, I mean, they've been on telly loads now, but because at that time I just thought the only comedians are Lee Mack.
Well, I
It
mean, he's
was also
fantastic.
fantastic. But,
Yeah.
I thought, well, I can't do that. I can't be, because it's such a high bar.
There's no such word as can't.
Well, the Oxford English Dictionary might disagree with you, Rick.
I had a go once. I've told you this. I can't remember if I told you this or not. I had a go to get it out of my system. This was years ago at the Edinburgh Festival, and the promoter said to me, "It's a gong show on a Monday afternoon for old people in the Haymarket." It couldn't be worse. It was a rainy Monday, and I went, "Well, I've got a 5-minute set because I used to just pass my driving test, and I wasn't a very good driver, and I used to crash cars in Carlisle, and I thought this will get laughs." So I wrote this and I showed him, and he said, yeah, go on. So I walked on, and there was 3 people in the crowd, 3 old fellas in the crowd, all drunk. And I walked on, and the first thing I said was, "Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. People think I look like Eddie the Eagle Edwards, the ski jumper, but I can't see the resemblance myself." And some old fella at the back just went, "Fuck off!" and gunned us off. And I walked off to my own footsteps, and the promoter said, "Have another go." I went, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "I think my calling's in the audience," which is obviously what happened. Never say never again.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Yeah, because what you talk about how I started, like you, a gong show was so the first thing I did was I booked the Frog and Bucket gong show in 10 weeks' time.
Yeah.
And I said, right, you've now got 10 weeks to do it, to learn and to gig.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of these people, I won't get up in the morning and just go for a run. Unless there's a 10K booked in, you're not getting me out of bed. So I need that Damocles sword above me to do anything. So that's how I started. So I booked that in. I thought, God, I've got 10 weeks. I'm gonna have to do this.
Gonna do it, yeah. And what was it like, your first ever gig? Can you remember it?
Yeah.
It was that good.
The amount, as I say, I listened to this podcast, and the amount of comedians who come on and go, "My first gig went really well," and every time I think, "You bastards."
No, it was terrible. They're all lying.
And the first gig, I'll always remember it. There's an iconic open mic night in Leeds. It's the longest one. It's been going like 20 odd years, and it's called Comedy in the Cellar, and it's at Verve, and it's started by Silky about 20 odd years ago, and it's carried on now past hands. And pretty much every comic was based around Leeds. The first gig was there, really. And it's and I always remember I walked in and there was 3 people, a bit like your gong show. There were 3 people in the audience, 2 women who were drunk, right? A dog. Now, I have since spoke
well, a dog can get laughs.
I've since spoke to the guy who runs the night, and he has assured me there has never been a dog in that pub, but I can see it. Like, I can see this dog. So I've obviously made it up in my head, but I can see this dog. And there was a girl, she was about 20, and she had these black Dr. Dre headphones around her neck. And I always remember 2 minutes into my first ever set, she put her headphones on.
No! Oh my God. How rude.
It is rude, but I look back now and I laughed at that. So I found that really funny. And I think that I look back now and I think, God, that is such a deluded response. No wonder you kept going.
Oh,
why would you not offended by that? But I found it really funny.
So there's the old wonderful Sarah Millican adage where if you have a difficult gig, you have until 10 o'clock the next morning to get over it and start again. So you must have had some success early on, otherwise why keep doing it? Or the feeling there must have been, I can do this and I can do this well. Well, was there a point where you thought, yes, this is for me?
I was so desperate to be part of the gang. Like, my favourite, it really is. My favourite thing on the planet is this. It's talking about comedy to comedians and comedy fans. And I wanted to be part of the gang so bad. Like, this is how I see dying. Whenever I die, and it's thankfully it's happening less and less, but whenever I die, I always think, oh, Joan Rivers must have died at some point. So I'm now technically I can compare myself to. We can be in the same bit of the Venn diagram now. Whereas I haven't done loads of stuff she has done, but she's done stuff I've done, like die on my ass. So I get quite a joy out of being part of the club.
Yeah, this podcast is not financial by any means at all. In fact, if it did, it would become a business, and I don't want that. I'm doing it out of my sheer joy and passion and love of doing it. And the wonderful thing about supporting everybody is that the reward I get for it is the recognition. So wherever I go, it's like, oh, it's Rich, oh my God, the laugh, oh. And at Edinburgh, I think 2 years ago, or last year, the wonderful Hal Cruttenden, who's one of my favourite comedians. I shouldn't have favourites, but he just makes me cry with laughter. He did a show about his divorce. It was really quite tough, but it was funny because of the way he delivered it and everything. And we saw it at tea time, and in the evening I met him, and he said, oh, come up for a drink, come up for a beer. And straight away I was in the VIP tent, and there was Dara O'Brien, there was Ed Byrne, there was Joe Brand. And, oh my God, Rich, and yeah, but I'm here for a drink with. So I bought him a drink, and we went away from the ego, and we sat down, and he went, what did you think of the show, Rich? I said, oh, very good. You're a very good comedian, but a tough gig, whatever, tough subject. And he looked and he grinned and he said, we all love you. He said, you sit in the front row and the joy that you exude just by being there, it's magical. He said, how old are you? I said, I'm 3 years off 60. He said, we'll give you a benefit gig when you're 60. And I'm like, no. Now, if that happens,
that would be amazing.
That would be incredible. But that's why I do it. That's the joy of doing it. And I can see, just listening to you and knowing you, how happy you always are talking about comedy or performing comedy. And it's a joy to see, because you're a great comedian.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I mean, it has gone really well. And I always naturally struggle to say that because I want to be British and stuff. But I've been going just over 3 years, and some of the stuff that has happened, one of them I think we'll probably end up talking about where you was there the other week, is just beyond anything I could have ever have hoped for.
Yeah.
Stood in that pub dying on my ass to 2 women, a mysterious dog that I've made up, and a goth. Yeah.
Well, let's move on to this, because I'd never heard of Gary or Jed. I've never seen them before. Gary Jennison and Jed Salisbury, who are the co-directors of the Hull Comedy Fringe. And I love to go to festivals and fringes. I go to Edinburgh mainly, but I've branched out a lot. I go to Brighton, I go to Hastings, I go to Leicester. And Hastings by the sea is one of the best. And so Chris Young and Jake run that, and they've both been on here. So when I was at Hastings, Chris said to Gary and Jed, who were also there, they said, can you fill in for a act who should have been here and can't make it? And Gary walked on. I'd never heard of him before. And he said, I've no idea what I'm going to talk about for the next half an hour. Has anybody got any questions or comments? And I harped up and I said, can you tell me why, after eating 2 packets of crisps every day for 30 years, I've got diabetes? And he burst out laughing, and he took crisps, the word crisps, and took it and ran with it. And he built it up to the best 20 minutes I've heard all year. And it ended up in the British Comedy Guide's pick that I did for them. I did an article for them for my anniversary, my top 25 moments. Me and the people I was with were crying at him. And I keep saying to him, you are far better than you think you are. And what's wonderful was I came along to the Hull Comedy Festival, and that was 2 years ago, and I was a judge at the New Comedian of the Year, where you had won it the previous year, and that was the first time I saw you, and then I saw you at the town hall. So it was like a big audience, and then a tiny
Yeah.
unknown audience. And then this last year was the big deal, where they had a massive show at the Hull Arena with Chris Ramsey and Chloe Petts and Ahia Shah and Flo and Joan, and you, amazingly, was on first and took the roof off. Describe those three different scenarios to me. What did you feel like?
Oh, the three gigs you've seen me at.
Yeah.
The one in the first one was the night. It was a Friday night in Ferriby, and that
Yeah.
village hall. And it was one of those where you look at it from a distance and you go, "This is a tough gig." You've got a massive gap from the stage to the front row. You've got a high stage. You've got a village that's never had comedy before. And I'm opening. Firstly, it was in South Ferriby, and
Yeah.
I'm from Hull, so I thought I'm not going to Google it. I know my way around Hull and East Riding. And I thought I'll Google it last minute because I was going to go. I thought it would be near North Ferriby, so I was going to go to North Ferriby. Turns out there's a river in between North and South Ferriby. So,
Did you bring your boat?
You heard of it? Quite a big river. So
I didn't know that.
To it and I opened. I think it was it Jed? I think it was Jed MC, I think.
Yeah.
And I opened it. And it was a tougher gig. It was a tougher gig, but it was fun. You just one of those that you have to work for. And it's one of those ones where I always think 6 months ago I would have died on my ass there. That was my sort of the feeling after. And you grow into it. Especially at that time, I used to talk a lot about being gay and a lot of identity politics, which I still talk about, but that is changing as I the more I do it. And it was so that was one that puts hairs on your chest. But then the next night, the funny thing about that was we was in the green room and we was having a right laugh, like a real riot. And I was talking about favourite homophobic slurs. And we were all having a right laugh. And then Chris Percy, who you know, said to me, "You should do a bit on this. It's really good." So I thought, oh, okay. And the next night was the whole Comedian of the Year. And as you say, I was performing at the end and handing over the trophy to the eventual winner, Hannah, who is, and I thought I'm just going to go up there and just riff and just do this bit that we've done in the green room, because I'm very scripted and I'm trying to move away from that. And so I just thought I'm going to riff on favourite homophobic slurs. Now, one thing I learned was what's funny in a green room is not necessarily funny. And I remember asking the audience, "So what's your favourite homophobic slur?" And three blokes just in their own time just shouted "bum boy" at me. And I looked across to Jed and he looked at me. You know that look where a comedian is so happy that he's not dying.
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
So that was fun. That was a fun one. And then the last one, Hull Arena.
That was incredible.
I mean, it was the proudest moment of my life. I mean, my gran watching me for the first time in the audience, and that scared me more than the other 1,000 or however many people, Granny Sandra being sat there. But it's a hometown gig, arena, on with people like Chris Ramsey. I mean,
he is extraordinary.
Yeah, and the thing with Hull Comedy Festival that I always think is overlooked is I won the Hull Comedian of the Year or New Comedian of the Year. And what they do, which I don't think hardly any other festival does, and you'll know more than me, so maybe they do, but is you don't just win the trophy and you go away with the trophy and the plaudits. They build you into the next year's festival.
Yeah,
And
That's a great idea.
oh, I mean, it seems really obvious,
Yeah.
but honestly, I would not. It's helped me so much because the prize for winning an 8 minute, I think it was an 8 minute competition, was an hour show the next
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
which is
So it gives you
bonkers.
something to go for,
Yeah,
and you build on and you build on it. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Very
it
much so.
forced me to write because I have so much time to fill. I had to write, and I'm so much better now at churning out material, trying new material rather than I used to be stuck on a set that I knew worked, and it's forced me to write and write, and
That's so
you get.
good.
It's amazing because you headline the best of Hull showcase. You're the poster boy or girl on the all the posters and stuff, and you get the show for free at next year's. And Hannah Margaret had the same this year, and then the winner of 2024, Ed Jefferson, will get the same next
Yeah.
year. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really built in to next year's show, which I think makes the prize so much more valuable to you as a comic.
That's a lovely and wonderful and deserved answer. So good. I've just had Hannah on here. She was very recently a guest, and she was singing your praises. And I said to her, well, the great thing about Jack is that whenever I've seen him live, and I mean this from the heart, you're extremely warm and enthusiastic when you're on stage. And if you can get if you're like that all the time and you walk out and you so want to make them laugh, then once you've got them, you can talk about anything you like because you're in control of the room, and it's magical to see, mate. You're an absolute natural. You really are.
I think it that's very lovely to say. I think the fact I look so happy on stage is because I'm like a pig in shit that I can call myself a comedian.
That's what this podcast's for, honesty.
The fact I can call when I first started, I recorded every gig, and I said, when you get to 100 gigs, you can call yourself a comedian without. Because I used to say I do comedy. I didn't say I'm a comedian. I do comedy. And then when I hit 100, I started calling myself a comedian because I thought you need it's an apprenticeship. A plumber
Yeah,
can't be a plumber just because you plunge your turd out. Do you know what I mean? You have to work at it.
when for about the last 4 or 5 years, whichever comedy club I go to, I always try and get the front row. I always used to sit at the back and think my loud laugh would carry, which it did. But sitting on the front row has given me an enormous amount of confidence personally, and I'm now part of the comedian sets. So somebody like Milton Jones will walk on and he'll fire a few jokes, and if I'm not laughing, he'll turn to me and he'll go, "Is this the one, Rich?" And then he'll tell a belter and it'll be hilarious. He said, "I'll use that in the tour." And that's magical. That's another great reason why I do it. And another one is you're a classic case in point where every single entry in the blog is that where I've seen them. So the venue and everything in the year, and it's great to watch them all go from little tiny comedy clubs to big arenas. A classic case in point is Peter Kay, who I first saw in a tiny pub in Manchester on a bill of 5 acts, and he was fourth on, and I laughed so hard. I said to my friend, I said, he's going to be a superstar, and I laughed so hard that I missed the 5th act. So about a month I was still laughing, so about a month later I went up to Dave Gorman, who was the 5th act, and had to apologise. Said, "I'm really sorry, I'm coming to see you again soon." But when you get to the point of crying with laughter after hearing something, or you're in the moment, there's nothing like it. And I'm saying, I'm having all this enthused from the audience. It must be incredible on stage when you get the laughs.
Yeah, especially I get a real kick off. So I've just started emceeing quite a bit, and doing my own night. I've just started to run, and when you're just chatting, and I think it is suited to me because I'm chatty. I think when you can get a laugh completely off the cuff, not pre-prepared, it is so satisfying. It really is.
It really is. One of the reason why I do the podcast for me is Morecambe and Wise. There'll never be another act. And I was very lucky to interview Gary Morecambe recently, Eric's son, and I've got all the books, I've seen all the plays and everything, but I've never seen them live. But I used to love it when they tried to make each other laugh. They were so in sync. When they tried to make each other laugh, you knew that they were loving what they did, and that's just magical to see.
The best thing I've ever seen in my life was I went at last year's Edinburgh Fringe. I went to see The Last Laugh.
Everybody's saying, yeah, it's fantastic.
Honestly, I mean, Bob Monkhouse is we'll probably come back to him, but he's a real pillar of mine. Bob Monkhouse. And the impression. I never realised that Bob Monkhouse did those things, but as soon as he started to do them, I thought, oh my God, yeah, he did do that.
The Last Laugh is a play about Tommy Cooper, Eric Morecambe and Bob Monkhouse. And I know the guy who plays Bob Monkhouse. I'm trying to get him on here. Excuse me. And over the Edinburgh Fringe, there have been plays about Eric Morecambe with Bob Golding as Eric Morecambe. There was a play called A Man Called Monkhouse where Simon Cartwright played him. And they've all come together with Damien, not Lewis, Damien somebody, I forget his surname, but he is brilliant as Tommy Cooper. And the three of them do all the routines and everything, but it's set in a dressing room. Absolutely fantastic. I saw it on preview at the Eric Morecambe Centre in Harpenden, and they did a Q&A afterwards, and I said to them, I was very, very privileged to see Tommy Cooper live. I was about 8. It was the second gig I ever saw. It was extraordinary. But I said, I've never seen Bob Monkhouse or Eric Morecambe until tonight. That was incredible. And everybody cheered. And I went, this is going into the West End. And I'm so glad, because it is in January to March time. It's getting its West End run. So it deserves every accolade it gets, because it's just fantastic. Such a great idea for a play.
And yeah, we won't say anything about what happened and stuff, but it was just, I was just in floods of tears from the beginning. The nostalgia.
It's nostalgic, it's funny.
Funny, so funny, and warm, so...
Yeah.
Yeah,
and of course, Monkhouse, one of the greatest gag masters ever. My favourite Bob Monkhouse joke is my fans came up to me the other day and told me that I was from Kent, or at least I thought that's what they said. That's just a cracking line.
I mean, I know it's obviously his most famous, but the greatest joke ever written, in my opinion, is people used to laugh at me when I said I wanted to be a comedian. Well, they're not laughing now.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, and the delivery as well from him was incredible. I mean, he took criticism for doing all the quiz shows and the game shows and everything, but by God, if you watch Bob Monkhouse's Last Stand with all the comedians in the last thing he did, they're all watching him in awe. It's an extraordinary performance. He was one of the greatest.
The joke he does in that where he says, I went to the doctors because he was ill, wasn't he? So I went to the doctors and said, how long have I got left to live, doc? He says, 5. He went, what, 5 years? 5 months? 5 days? 4.
Yeah. He did that on Parkinson as well with Peter Kay, and Peter Kay nearly spilled his drink. And that was the magic of the man, because he always tried to find humour from the most horrific and awful situations, and that's just wonderful, because
he loved other comedians, didn't he?
Yeah,
he loved, like what we were saying, he loved watching and listening and being part of the comedians.
And the other thing which I have told you about before was the biggest coup on here was Barry Cryer I was the last person to interview him, and of course he wrote for Monkhouse. He wrote for everybody, and it was just of that era where they had nothing to lose, any of them, and they just went for it. And the ones that were really good, really shone. And it's just they're just wonderful joke tellers and comedians. It's just fantastic. It's so good. Anyway, enough of them. Let's get back to you. Tell me about your writing process for a routine or a show. Do you have one?
Yeah, it's changed. When I started, I would sit at a laptop with 1 to 100, and I would have a topic, and I would write 100 gags. If they were crap or good, just write 100 on it, and that is how I started. So, first time I ever did, the first set was about my psoriasis, and I just sat at a desk, wrote psoriasis, and I wrote 100 gags. Some of them dreadful, but as long as they're out your head, they're on the paper, they're gone. And that's how I used to do it. So I used to have a topic, and but I've changed that over time. And now it's, as I've got more confident, I've been doing a lot more anecdotal family stories that I've always known, and trying to weave it into a more natural, because I used to be quite gag heavy, and they were hidden in stories, but they were just punchlines, feed line, punchline, really. Yeah.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So you have a subject, and you just write all about that. You do like a word cloud or something like that with all the jokes on.
Yeah, I mean, I used to more than I do now, but yeah. So psoriasis, I'd sat there. The first joke I ever told, it's dreadful. This, warn you. I'm going to do a set about psoriasis, so it'd be good if you've got a dry sense of humour, right? So,
I'm going to tell that at work tomorrow.
And then you'd mention being gay, and you'd say, I'm so gay, even my dandruff's confetti. Yeah, stuff like that. So that's how I did it. I wrote it like systematically. Because my hero was, I know I've said I've got about 1 million, but my number one is probably Joan Rivers. And she was a gag merchant. People don't see her as a one-liner comic, but she was. I mean, she was bang, 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 bang. So that was... The problem was I'd watch her all the time, and I started realising I was telling jokes in her voice. So, I mean, I won't say like my vagina's so dry, but I mean, I was like... But it was coming through in her voice. So I had to stop watching her for a bit.
What is magical about the comedian, most of the comedians we've talked about, is that, and Joan Rivers in particular, was that she was always on. So I very luckily saw her at the Edinburgh Fringe. She did a show at the Edinburgh Fringe, and she walked out, and literally, instead of talking to the audience, she had a joke about someone's weird coat, someone's style of hair, someone wearing glasses. It was extraordinary, and she just went bang bang. Like you say, it was literally and she would not. She was fearless. She, you talk about going near a line and stuff like that. She just said it, and it was extraordinary. It was her delivery and her way of doing it. She was a great comedian.
Fantastic. And if anyone listening to this, if you can do one thing for me, Google or put on YouTube Joan Rivers and Bob Monkhouse, and it's a Bob Monkhouse chat show, and she sits, and it's 18 minutes. I've watched it God knows how many times, and it is phenomenal.
Wow. I'm going to do that, because I remember when that was on TV, because I'm that old, and I watched it then, and as soon as you said it, I thought, yeah, that's good. The first comedian I ever saw live, who is still top 5 for me, was Les Dawson, aged 7. And he, if you type into YouTube, Les Dawson Candle in Cumbria, it's the best telling of a joke I've ever heard, and only he can tell it, because he starts laughing half the way through it, and it makes it so much funnier. And so the joy of telling the joke for all these comedians, it just lifts them up. It just lifts them up. And if you sit in the audience and you're just sitting there going, this is a moment, this is in awe. and it's just wonderful. How far do you keep going with it all? It's amazing. What do you think makes a good comedian? Following on from that,
Well,
because you're a good comedian.
Thank you, Rich. I was going to be
no, you are.
I was going to be self-deprecating, but I thought.
No, not at all.
I have a general rule of thumb. I think the greats are completely unique.
Yeah.
However, there's not many of them, and the truth is, the vast majority of good comics are not unique at all, and they know the history, and they know comedians, and they've watched, and they enjoy it, and they work out what's going on. I think the vast majority of good comedians are study. Whereas I think you do have a few who are completely batshit, absolute geniuses. The Rick Mails, these people who are just completely one-offs, and they're the greats. But I think that for a good comedian, I think it's people care enough about it to watch it, I think.
Yeah, great answer. I saw Rick Mail in Carlisle in 1988 on his tour, and he when he was off stage, they were playing the theme from Dallas intertwined with the theme from the Muppet Show, so they kept scratching, and he started getting angry, and then the lights suddenly went black, and then the lights came on him. He jumped on stage. He went, "Hello, Carl!" Carlisle was called the Carl, and his trousers exploded. He's just phenomenal.
He's such a hack,
Oh, he was amazing.
Everyone's doing that.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think there are very, very few comedians who don't do anything and you're laughing. Eric Morecambe might twiddle his glasses. Tommy Cooper has his fez. Ken Dodd will just look. Les Dawson has a very craggy look. There are very few comedians. I'll put Peter Kay there, Don French there.
Well, I tell you who I saw who did that. I went to a student gig in Huddersfield where I went to uni, and a guy came out called Joe Wilkinson.
Oh, he's brilliant. I know him well.
Never heard of at the time. And he didn't say a word for 5 minutes. He didn't say a word. He didn't go near the mic. He got one of the advertising banners, and he pretended it was a sail, and he was sailing towards the mic. Honestly, I know it doesn't sound it. We were in tears.
He is extraordinary. He is a regular at the club I go to in Kennington, Always Be Comedy, and he comes on and he goes, "Oh, I don't know whether I can be bothered tonight." and him and Diane Morgan were together in a sketch group called The Mashup or The Mix-Up or something like this, and they appeared together on stage, and it was sketch comedy, and Diane Morgan walked up to me in the front row, gave me the finger, and kept the finger going for about 5 minutes, literally, and nothing was happening. And I was like, "What's going on here?" I'm all embarrassed. And Joe Wilkinson went up to her, tapped her on the shoulder, and went, "I told you that invisible cloak wouldn't work." So good. He is very, very, very clever, Joe Wilkinson. He always was.
Yeah, I think I went to see Alan Carr, and I think Joe Wilkinson's got this. What I realised when I was watching him, Alan Carr, was, and this sounds rude, and it really isn't. It's the opposite. But he is funnier than his jokes.
Yeah.
And I think I would put Alan Carr as a great person. I think he is funnier. I could say some of the things he says, and it wouldn't get a laugh. And because he says it, it is the funniest thing you've ever heard. He is so much funnier. And I think Tommy Cooper is the perfect example. Tommy Cooper's punchlines are often not like the most amazing thing in the world. but he is so funny.
I totally agree with you. I love the way comedians deliver. I used to love Larry Grayson, just with all the mannerisms and everything. Alan Carr's a classic case in point. When we saw Tommy Cooper live, the curtains opened and there's nothing on stage but a bed, and he's lying on it. And one woman in the crowd is pissing herself laughing, and it trickles round, so everybody's crying with laughter, and he hasn't done a thing. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, he pops his head up. He goes, "What? Has somebody come on?" and I think with him, he obviously knew what he was doing, but I'd like to think he didn't realise just how funny he was, and that's why he was hilarious. He knew every nuance and how to get the tricks wrong and everything, but he was a master of bewilderment, and that's what made him a cut above the rest. He was a genius, that man.
Yeah.
And the guy who plays him, I wish I could remember his flaming name, Damien somebody, plays him in The Last Laugh. He does the duck and the egg routine, and it's fantastic. It's we can't recommend this play highly enough. What has been your best and worst comedy gig? I can't imagine you having a bad comedy gig because you're always so happy and up for it. Hello.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do quickly the best one. The best one at the arena was the best one. Tour support. I've been very lucky to do a lot of tour support for a lot of great comedians, and that is the proud moment because you feel trusted by your peers, and that's really amazing. You get to hang out with, Josh Jones, who is just phenomenal.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah, Josh Jones, Steph Todd, Fiona Allen, Morgan Rees, Tom Lucy. I've been really lucky, and he's hanging around these brilliant comics, and I've learned Worst gig. Well, I've died on my ass a lot, but the like any comic. But the worst gig, I didn't actually die, but it was a bad gig in that I turn up, I'm on last, so I'm expecting to go on about 9:30, 10, something like that. I turn up, there's 4 acts. The promoter decides to have a 15-minute break in between every act, right? The third act goes on, it's supposed to be doing 10, does 40, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a bear pit of a gig. And I come on at 11:15.
Oh my God. I would have gone home.
I was seething. And I come on, and in the first 10 minutes, there's a fight.
Oh.
because everyone's, I've had so many beers. It started at, it's still nearly midnight. There's a fight in the first 10 minutes. And I'm calming them down, thinking, what is going on? And it's going all right until we start fighting. And then in the second 10 minutes, there's another fight with 2 totally different blokes. And these other blokes at the back are fighting. He's got him by the neck, right? At the back. And I'm trying to fight a fight. And I'm telling them, right, one of you out, like trying to sort it. And there's a table on the front of these older women, pensioners, having a go at me, saying, well, you ignore them. We've paid good money to see you tell jokes. We don't want you talking to them idiots. I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, he's got him by the throat. I can't ignore it.
Wow. They say, I can imagine it's all experience. I think in all seriousness, you have to have a bad gig to become a better comedian. Would you agree with that?
100%. Every single gig I do, no matter how it goes, I write one lesson I can learn from it. Every one.
Oh, brilliant.
And I've got them all in a Word document, every single lesson.
Mm.
And you always learn more from the bad gigs. And it's often you write the lesson straight after it and it's not taking any responsibility. So it's, I'm never gigging there again. That's the lesson. And then the next day you look back and you go, no, the lesson is don't blame the venue, blame yourself.
Well, Ken Dodd, another master, had a giggle map of Britain and he could work out where all the jokes would work. He never played Carlisle. No, he did. Carlisle was a great audience. But it's fascinating. Let me talk to you about nerves. Do you get nervous before you go on stage at all, or did you ever? And if so, how did you cope?
Yeah, so relatively, I'm not one of the worst, but yeah, it's got worse the more I've done as well. Bizarrely, you'd think it was the converse, but when I started out, I didn't get that nervous because I think I thought, well, I've not told anyone I'm doing it. I don't know anyone. If I'm shit, I'll bugger off into the night and I'll never be seen again.
Yeah.
You know, like what do you call that bloke who walked into the river?
Reginald Perrin.
Yeah, Reginald Perrin. But as I've got better and I've realised it's what I want to do with my life, it's become more I need it to go well than it ever did.
Yeah, yeah.
So that
It's interesting.
But I deal with my nerves. I prepare. I probably over prepare, and I'm trying to work on trusting myself more and relaxing. That's my next big thing is trying not to over prepare too much. But that's how I did it. And I also believe, and we probably don't have time to go into this, but I believe that Joan Rivers is my guardian angel, Rick.
Why not?
And I know there'll be people listening thinking, firstly, is this him trying to be quirky and cool? I promise you I believe it. And
Wow.
who's he think is it? But I have dreams where she's in them. And I always have since the day I started. I regularly have dreams, and I wake up with jokes that she said in my dreams that I now said. Now, clearly, I thought of the joke. I know that, but it brings me so much comfort to think she's there when I'm nervous about to go on stage. I think, right, Joan's here, it's fine. Which
That's
I realise
amazing.
sounds bonkers, but if it works, it works.
If it works for you, have you ever met her? Have you ever seen her live?
No, no, I haven't. I've watched every clip that probably exists on the planet, but no.
Maybe if you saw her live, and obviously you can't now, your view of her may change. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
You just don't know, do you? You know, because it's a bit like me with Morecambe and Wise. Um, I would love to have gone up to Eric and give him a massive hug and just say thank you very much for everything you've done. But talking to Gary, the son, I asked him what was it like living with him, and he said to me, he said he's always on. He said we could never take boyfriends or girlfriends back because he was always on and there was always a joke, and he was the best dad. But that's fascinating because you're going into analysis here. Why are you always on, and and is it a confidence thing or whatever? But the impression that we've got for all of them is something that keeps me going. I always have comedy to look forward to, and I always say to folk, you have your routine with your job. And so I'm an administrator for a council, which I love. I've got a great job, but that funds what I really want to do, and I love to plan. So all the comedy is my holidays. I love to go to a new city and go and explore, and it's just wonderful. It's just fitted in so well. My older brother, who makes adverts, said to me, he said, "I'm so proud of you that you've actually found your niche at 55." I told him where to go. No, I didn't. I said, thank you very much. Would you say that when you walk onto a stage, or when you get your first laugh, or when you speak into a microphone, any nerves that you may have go?
Yes. But I tell you, they come back fast if you're not getting a laugh. Yeah, I remember that. So at the arena gig, what I never anticipated, and Jed did warn me, actually, Jed Salisbury, but I didn't really listen. It was only afterwards when it clicked, because it's such a big room and the speakers.
Yeah.
There's a slight delay on me saying it and you hearing it. So I go up there, biggest gig of my life. I had an opening little quip to let the room know I'm from Oral, I'm one of their own, get on side. And I've never heard silence so loud. It was
wow.
unbelievable.
Oh, bless.
And I thought, oh no,
Bless you, my friend. Oh no. I wanted to ask you about the arena gig. How did you land it? How did you get it? Before you answer it, I just wanted to say to you, everybody else who I talked to after the gig said that you were the best thing on, because you were so quirky and up for it. And I said, well, I've been watching comedy for 50 years, and I know a great comedian when I see one, and you're it, because you took off. You really built up that crowd for the more established acts later on. So well done. But how did you get it in the first place?
It was the backing of Gary and Jed. Gary and Jed had put the night on. I think they felt, well, I know they felt it was very important to have at Hull Comedy Festival to have an act from the area.
Yeah.
And they asked me to do it, which was a huge honour, because there's so many brilliant comics in and around Hull, and
there are, yeah.
You know, there's some great ones, and they backed me, and
it's so good because you'd won the Hull Comedy Festival the year before, or a couple of years before,
yeah.
And another lovely thing about the Hull Comedy Festival is that last year's winner does 20 minutes or whatever, and then the new winner comes along, and then, as you say, it goes on and on and on. And when I saw your name on the bill, I thought, this is a perfect bill. He's hilarious. And I was so pleased for you, because you were getting laughs. It wasn't just me being loud and laughing. Everybody around me was going bananas. So well done. It was so deserved.
Thank you. I'll never forget it. Never.
No. Tell me your experiences of fringes and festivals. Do you go to many others, or?
I've not been to perform at them yet.
Right.
But in 2023, I went to Edinburgh for the first time. And this year I went, and because I listen to your podcast, I know you're going to agree with me here. I go up, and I did once because I help a friend out, but I don't want to perform. When I go up there, I go up there to watch. And I went, and I was there for 3 or 4 days, and I watched 7 shows a day, both times. I did one little bit because my mate was ill, who was on a double split bill. So I said, I'll cover. But I want to just watch. And people say, oh, you're going to try and get a few spots. And I'm like, no, I'm there to chill out.
No, keep me away from it.
It's not a busman's holiday. I want to be and watching. And I just watch in Edinburgh. Both years, I watched about 7 a day. And
yeah, it's insane, but it's amazing. I'm exactly the same.
It's so inspiring. I mean, you go for longer than me. I was going for 3 or 4 days, and then you're so knackered. I mean,
I need a holiday by the time I come back. Yeah. I'm all laughed out.
But I find it so inspiring. Like, you watch the best of the best. And,
yeah.
You know, this year just gone, I watched so many good ones. But the ones that spring to mind, I watched Joe Kent Walters, who is a friend of mine, and he won Best Newcomer. I watched Amy Gledhill, who won Best Show, and obviously from Hull. I watched loads, but Pierre Novelli.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Well, because I knew Amy Gledhill, I knew Joe. I only knew Pierre from being on the Frank Skinner radio show.
Yeah.
I could not. I think it was the best hour of stand-up I've ever seen.
Yeah. And again, it's all experience. They just get better and better and better and better. I saw Frank Skinner a couple of years ago at Edinburgh, and I'd never met him, and I was waiting for my next show. I was queuing in the rain, and he walked out with his manager, and I thought, I'm never going to get this opportunity again. So I walked up to him, I went, Frank! And he'd taken back, and he went, yes. I said, I'm really sorry to bother you. I said, I'm such a big fan, and I've just seen your show. I think it's fantastic, and would you mind if we have a photograph, please? And he went, oh, thank God. He said, I thought you were going to ask for a refund. Just wonderful. And he again, another classic case in point where I first saw him in a tiny club, and it's built up to the top. But you're right. Last year, I was so pleased for Amy Gledhill and for Joe Kent Walters. Joe Kent Walters as Frankie Monroe. I'd seen him win the BBC Comedy Award on the television on the Monday night, and on the Thursday at My First Hull, he played a little tiny run, and they gave him a standing ovation. And I went up to him and I met him and I said, "This is going to be your year." And he played. We saw him at Leicester, we saw him in Brighton, we saw him at Edinburgh, and he gets the best newcomer. The act is just phenomenal. Frankie Monroe, I absolutely love it.
First time I gigged with him, there was a gig in an escape room in Sheffield. And,
of course.
and it hadn't soaked very well, and there was about 5 members of the audience, and it soaked so badly. They asked the people behind.
They couldn't get out. Sorry.
they asked the people in the bar to shut the bar and come join the audience to get some people in. So there weren't many in, and we went up and I did my thing, and it went fine. I mean, how good can it go? You know, it went all right. And then this guy come on who I hadn't met before, called Joe Kent Walters, and he started with this character he was a posh actor called Soliloquy or something that he won the Chortle Student Comedian of the Year as. And then he did half of that, and then he went away to do a brand new character. And he came out as Frankie Monroe. And there was 7 or 8 of us in the crowd. And he blew the roof off. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
I've never seen
I saw
quality like it.
Oh, it is extraordinary. I saw him and I thought there's bits of Reeves and Mortimer in there. There's bits of Johnny Vegas, the Mighty Boosh, all mixed up. And the story is phenomenal. I love... the nightclub in Rotherham that's also a gateway to hell or whatever it is. And then he's away, he's so good. And Amy, I was delighted for. I've been a fan of hers for years, and I love the Northern News podcast she does with Ian Smith. And we saw the show at Edinburgh. It was so good. We went again and saw her at Soho Theatre. And she's just the loveliest person. I so wish I can get her to come on here because she'd be a great guest. Really, really love her. I think she's going to go far.
And I just, from all Lucy Bowles.
Yeah. There's so many.
Really putting all on the map, and all comedy festivals doing that as well. Like, I feel like all these, because when I was being brought up, it gets spoken down of a lot. And it's fantastic. It's a great place. And I never do jokes at all expense, ever. That's one of my rules. I just won't. And I think it's so amazing to see Lucy and Amy, what they're doing. And it just, like... It's
joyous. It's absolutely joyous. I'm trying to think of a Carlisle comedian.
Well, wasn't there...
It's me.
Wasn't there Stan Laurel?
Stan Laurel was from Ulverston.
Is that nearby?
That's Cumbria. We'll give you that. That's 25 miles away. That's not bad. That's genius. There was a great comedian called Donald Scott who I used to love growing up, and he nicked his act from Les Dawson and Norman Evans, and he used to have a character called Over the Garden Wall, and the public loved him. He used to do a radio show and everything. He was a great comedian. And he's in the blog for anybody who wants to read it. Anyway, talking of great comedians, who makes you laugh? Who makes Jack laugh?
Well, we've been
nobody.
Just myself. I tell you, the person who makes me laugh, you can guarantee no matter what mood I'm in, he'll make me laugh, is John Shuttleworth.
Oh, he's got a brand new tour in 2025. Oh, he's brilliant. He's so great.
He makes me... Now, I think you're going to disagree with me here, but in my opinion, I think he's the greatest character comedian this country has produced.
He's up there.
There's a lot of competition. There's been some brilliant ones. But for me, he just makes me so happy.
Yeah. I would say I would put in top 5. I'd put Frankie Monroe in there, but the big 2 for me are Alan Partridge and Al Murray. I absolutely love Al Murray. He's so great with an audience, But good shout. That's a great shout. Have you seen him live, John
Yeah,
Shuttleworth?
I saw him at City Varieties in Leeds, which is the dream venue. If I
Yeah.
ever get to play that,
I've
that
never
is,
been. I've always wanted to go. Barry Cryer started there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic venue, and I really want to play there. So I'm
But
putting it
when
out there
you're on
now.
there, I'm coming to see you.
I'd look, yes. Well, we'll put you up in this. We'll put you up in the spare room, Rich.
Good lad.
Uh,
Who else?
yeah,
There must be more.
I saw John Shuttleworth there. He was fantastic. He has this line. It's a love song, and he says, "She's like Manchester. She has strange ways."
That's perfect. That's perfect.
I think it's
I'm so looking
beautiful.
forward to seeing him again.
Yeah. I mean,
And of course, Jilted John, the same actor, Graham Fellows.
yeah,
Who'd have thought?
I know. And my dad got me into John Shuttleworth. That was my
Brilliant.
dad, and the calling wasps Jaspers. I like that from. Apparently, that's a thing. I thought it was just a John Shuttleworth thing, but apparently it's a South Yorkshire thing. I call them Jaspers now. And it always makes me laugh.
So good, so good. Who else? There must be more.
Who I haven't named. I think I've name dropped every comedian in the bloody world, haven't I? Current lot. I tell you the current lot. I think Rachel Fairbairn's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Josh Pugh.
Yeah.
MC Hammersmith is. Have you seen MC Hammersmith?
He's brilliant.
It's unbelievable what he does. Barbara Nice.
I've never seen her live. And of course, all the Phoenix Nights. She played Hull, but she was the weekend. I wasn't there. I would love to see her live. I've seen her on the Phoenix Nights tour, but not her own show.
She's asked me to do this Christmas, December 24, do a Christmas show. So it's Friday and Saturday night in Birmingham.
And you're doing it?
Yeah. And it's a clean set, so it's my first time doing a clean set. So
wow!
I'm really excited.
Is that going to be tough?
I'm not particularly blue, and I'm not particularly sweary.
No.
And I don't know where the line goes on sexuality, because sexuality isn't offensive to talk about, and it shouldn't be. It certainly shouldn't be. But I don't know where the line is on. I'm trying to work out where the line is on that. Around because it's
interesting, yeah.
Because the part of me inside would go, we should be able to talk about you're not doing anything, and I know I'm not doing anything wrong. I know there's nothing wrong being whatever, right, queer. But I also think, well, I don't know. I don't know, because I guess a guy would go up there and talk about his wife and he would never bat his eyelids. So maybe. Yeah, I've not fully got my head around it yet. I won't talk about the fact I came out in a strip club. I won't talk about
That's just an exclusive for here. Is there anybody else?
I've mentioned Joan. I've mentioned Bob. Dame Edna.
Oh, my friend, your comedy greats. I saw Barry Humphries in Manchester. And within 5 minutes, he had a member of the audience on stage ringing his house and just insulting everybody in the house. And they loved it. He had an extraordinary gift. I would put Les Patterson with Dame Edna. They were two great characters. But Dame Edna was obviously the most popular one. But he was a joy. He was.
I always remember hilarious. There's a clip on YouTube on Dame Edna's chat show, and Joan Rivers is on, and Jeffrey Archer, bizarrely, is on. And
the worst.
Dame Edna and Joan are sparring, and they're taking lumps out of each other, and it's brilliant. And Joan Rivers is telling a story, being fantastic, and Jeffrey Archer interrupts her to tell this really long-winded story. He was soap his own ass, right? Tell this long-winded story. And Dame Edna at the end of it got nothing. And Dame Edna at the end of it just said to him, do you know what, love? Oh, do you know what, Jeffrey? If you work on that could be quite the anecdote. Just flattened him.
I mean, you've either got it or you haven't. It's as simple as that. I mean, where do I begin? As I say, my first ever act was Les Dawson. When I first came down to London, the lineup at the Comedy Store about 1988 was John Maloney, Richard Morton, Linda Smith, God bless her, what a comedian. And top of the bill there was a comedian called Charles Fleischer, who was an American voice artist, and he was hysterical. And he was never seen again because he went to Hollywood to voice Roger Rabbit. He didn't need to work again. So I'm pleased I saw him. Bill Hicks was a highlight. I saw him in Manchester. He was incredible. And we saw him at midnight and everybody just so listening in on what he said and everything. He was amazing. But there's so many of them. I love Josh Widdicombe at the moment, I have to say. Whenever I see him live, I see him quite regularly, and I think he's the master of the innocent. Do I like that? No, I do not. I love all that.
I know you're a big Morecambe and Wise fan. They are. Basically, my timeline was I lost my granddad when I was 8.
Oh, bless you.
And it really hit me. It was the first time I'd lost anyone, and it completely threw me. And I had counselling and stuff like that. And it was at that point where I started to become obsessed with old comedy. So like older comedians before my time that we've mentioned. And I look back at it now and I think that's because he used to watch comedy. So I think, oh, well, I was probably trying to hold on to him a bit. And the one that really got me, every morning I wouldn't go up for school. I was a lazy little toad and I won't get up for school. And the only way was my mum said Gold used to run reruns of the Two Ronnies.
Oh, mate.
At 7:30 on Gold every morning. And my mum was like, all right, come downstairs, Two Ronnies on. And that's the only way I'd get out of bed. So I'd go and watch it every morning before school. The whole time I was at school, this was the slot. And the monologues in the chair, I'm sat in a similar chair.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
The first payday I ever had, I bought a Lyle & Scott jumper that looks a lot like the one I'm wearing now, just because Ronnie wore them sort of jumpers. And like
they were incredible. They were incredible. I was very, very privileged to be in the audience for the Two Ronnies sketchbook, the last thing Barker ever did. And at the end of it, I've never seen so much warmth for two comedians. Everybody gave them a standing ovation, and all the writers were in the room. So Jimmy Perry was there, Barry Cryer was there. They were all in there. And about a month later, sadly after Barker passed, I'm in the National Theatre listening to Ronnie Corbett and his book. He'd had a book about the Two Ronnies. And he said, has anybody got any questions they want to ask? And I said, how did you work out who the writers and the sketches and everything? He told me all about Gerard Wiley and all this. And I said, well, I was in the Two Ronnies sketchbook thing and all the writers stood up and you were both brilliant. And even then, Corbett held his champagne glass up and he said he was the greatest character actor and I was the comedian. And he always used to think he was better, but I said, you both complimented each other so wonderfully. And at the end of it, it was so lovely because he said, can you come round afterwards and we can talk more? And I did, and he signed me book and everything, and a photo. It was a magical moment. Lovely, lovely guy, and a great, great comedian. Great comedian. I loved those Ronnie in the chest thing. They brought it back with Ben Elton, didn't they? Because it was so nostalgic. But the gags...
I'm glad. I'm one step away from Ronnie Corbett now. Then, were you? You know the old 8 steps.
Well, yeah. my favourite Morecambe and Wise story, and I made Gary Morecambe laugh with this because he hadn't heard it, and it's an absolute stormer. Eric and Ernie Live is a video. Somebody in the audience videoed it from about 1975, and they're at Croydon Fairfield Halls. And Carlisle is in a joke, there's a joke about Carlisle in the hour and everything. And at the end of it, they walk on, and they say, "Has anybody got any questions or comments?" And a woman right at the back of the auditorium went, "Can I have your autograph after the show, please, Eric?" And just off the top of his head, he goes, "You can have it now if I had long arms." and Gary Morecambe's crying. I'm like, oh my god! And that was the magic. And we've been talking about moments all night, and that's why I do it, and that's why going to see wonderful comedians like yourself finding great talent is just a wonderful thing to be part of. So thank you. It's been an absolute joy talking to you. It really has.
No, it's been, I've loved it. And the last name, I have forgot, but you reminded me when you said sign.
Please.
When you said Ronnie Corbett sign, I met Pam Ayres.
Oh, mate! Wow!
She released a book about hedgehogs.
Yeah.
And trying to help hedgehogs, and I love hedgehogs, so I bought the book. And off the back of it, I joined the Hedgehog Preservation Society. I pay about, I don't know, £10 a year or something. And I took my little certificate to see her do a reading, and she signed it afterwards. And I just remember I think what sums up all the people I love is that they are just about bringing joy. That's all it is. Like, even with Joan Rivers, it was very controversial at times. I believe in my heart of hearts, she was just trying to have a laugh. And it was never actually, about being horrible, because she was horrible to everyone. I do think she was just trying to just make the world laugh, because she had some hard times herself.
What is not to enjoy? And if you look at the poster on the Comedy Store website, it says laughing is the equivalent of 10 minutes rowing, because you use every bone in your body to laugh. But I always think of the Ken Dodd line where he says, Freud said that laughter starts in your gut and it works up through your clavicle and through your clack, and then you let out a noise. He said, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, Freud never played Glasgow Empire on a Friday night. And again, there was always a laugh. And my boss says to me at work, he says there's a lot to be said for laughter and enthusiasm. And he said, you've got it. He said they must know. Well, I know that you can hear them going, oh, Richie's in tonight. And if you can spread joy and support everybody who's willing to get up and have a go, what is not to love? It's just, and as long as I can move and get to a gig, I've said to my best friend who comes to a lot of the comedy with me, I've said to my best friends, I've said, if I end up in a wheelchair, you're pushing me up those hills of Edinburgh, because I'm going to the Fringe every year. Am I? Listen, my friend, it's been wonderful. It's been so good. I could talk to you all night. It's always a joy to see you, and I hope you've enjoyed it, because I've enjoyed listening to you.
Yeah, likewise. We could have gone on. I think you've probably done right to curtail it, because
we've done 4 hours. It's so good.
Listening at home on the edited version.
No, the whole thing will go out. Don't worry about it.
It's no Thursday.
Listen, my friend, thank you. You are such a great comedian. You really, really are, and I'm looking forward to you so much. Come and see you again soon.
Thank you. It'd be great to see you.
Just let people know your Twitter feed before they go, or any social media feed. I don't know why I said Twitter feed.
Yeah, the best bet is to follow me on Instagram at Jack Mclean Comedy. 2025, I am planning to be big. So I've got plans I've got some really exciting stuff that I want to get going. I've got a podcast, which I'm starting, called My Mother-in-Law.
Why have I called this that?
Which I'm going to do with my mother-in-law.
Oh, fantastic.
And I've got a card game that I want to release with Jed Salisbury. I'm saying this out loud so it commits me to do it. I want to do a solo show next year. And I've got a sitcom I've written, which an audio sitcom, which we're going to release, put it out into the world, and see if people like it. So follow me on Instagram at Jack Mclean Comedy. We're going big guns, and hopefully some of it pays off. So everything you need will be on there. Well,
mate, I'm going to be first in the queue for all that, because I can see it now. Jack Mclean. Yeah. No, honestly, you deserve every success because you're a great comedian. You really are.
Thank you, and yeah, and thanks for being an absolute geek with me for the last.
Thank you, my friend, and all the best to you. It's been a joy.